What a range of automobiles. I mean, you've got the Williams, Tyrrells, March, Shadows, Arrows, Penske, Lotus, McLaren. Fantastic Formula One field at the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion.
My name's Mike Taggart. This is my M29. This campaigned in the season of 1980 with Alain Prost driving the car. Best finish was fifth in Brazil. I got a call one day from a man named Mike Bohannon, who's a car broker, and asked me if I was interested in purchasing a Formula One car. So he drove me up to north of San Luis Obispo and about 10 miles off the road to a winery. And there was a large cave under the winery with a huge pair of oak doors that were like 20 feet high. And here were two cars over in the corner with covers on them. And he threw the cover off of the Lotus Renault. I looked at it and said, "Am I going to be able to drive this thing?" And he said, "No." So I kind of lost interest. When I say drive it, I didn't mean drive it in racing. I just wanted to take it out to Willow Springs and see if I could get it around the track. But there was another one under cover, and I said, "What's that?" And he uncovered it, and I thought it was more beautiful at the time, with the Marlboro livery, and it was this Alain Prost car. And I said, "Can I drive this?" And he said, "No problem." So I bought it, and I have driven it a couple of times out of Willow Springs. Not very well, but it was fun.
It's amazing. I've never seen cars this nice, actually, in my life, like never in person.
I'm Chuck McConnell. I'm Mike Taggart's driver. I take care of all the equipment. My partner and I, Dean Sellers, do all the work on the car, all the transportation for it, and to get it ready for the races. Test it usually. We're not testing this time because I think we're in pretty good shape.
I got to drive my car today, first time in it in almost 2 months.
She also loves water bottles. She can actually get into a cooler and take a soft drink out. She's figured out how to do that.
She hadn't opened it yet, though, right?
When she gets so she can go to the refrigerator and get me a beer and open it, my wife's out of there. She's gone.
Trans Am and single seat Can-Am, Chuck was a very successful driver, so we started campaigning the car. Our first race was at Sears Point. After that, we raced at the Long Beach Grand Prix with the IndyCar people. We raced up at Thunderhill. We had a race at Willow Springs. One of the most fun weekends we had was at Las Vegas with the IndyCar people. Now we're going to race it up at the Monterey Historics. We're going because Formula One is the mark. This is the largest gathering of at least vintage Formula Ones, maybe any Formula One, modern or vintage, in history. We have 38 cars entered in this race.
Ready to take the McLaren out for about a 15-minute warm-up.
Yeah, that's just a little pre-grid list that I have. So before we go out on the track, it's just the last check of anything. That, fuel level set, tire pressure set.
first lap, and it went sideways on those bad tires, and it was a struggle from there on. We just kind of made a salvage out of this thing, but we're going to put the new tires on. No air conditioning in it, baby. I want air conditioning. Actually, the tires are great, except there's one of them's vibrating like a motor. I don't know whether we lost a weight or what, but...
This is a 3-liter DFV Cosworth, 250 foot-pounds of torque, 400 horsepower, and we're running a 10,500 RPM redline, well below the maximum the engine's designed for. We feel that it's more than adequate. This is a Hewland transaxle. It's somewhat of a hybrid. McLaren stamps on the casting, so there's some collaboration there between the gearbox manufacturer and the chassis manufacturer to get the wheelbase where they want it, to get the suspension pickup points where they want it. It's been about 3 years since this car last ran. This is a standard, remove all the bodywork so you can get in and inspect everything. We drain and change the oil, pull apart the oil filter, see if there's any metal parts or anything that have made it into it. Flush new brake fluid through the system, leak check everything. It's a new battery in the fire activation system. That's pretty well all there is to prepping one of these things for a vintage event. If you can get in there and see, but you'll be able to see. We've got 90 pounds of oil pressure, we've got 120 pounds of fuel pressure. We're turning the fuel pump, the electric fuel pump off. We know that the mechanical fuel pump's taken over. We've got coolant temps starting to come up, and everything looks really good. Is that going to stay?
Yeah, that feels pretty good, man.
Yeah, it's still a little iffy here.
The calm before the storm.
19 starters, car number 79 from Rolling Hills. That's Ed Swart in a 1978 Shadow DN9. And alongside of him, car number 3, Chuck McConnell from Arroyo Grande, a 79 McLaren Mark 29. If we had a history on him, we could probably talk for hours on just the group of cars that's out there today. There just isn't a better collection of cars in this world than the spread of Grand Prix cars that we have here.
We did a 128.9. That's pretty serious.
Yeah.
We'll see where that puts us.
down here is a drive belt. You know, Gilmer belt, drive belt. It drives the water, the oil pump. I don't run the water pump on this one, and the fuel pump. It broke.
We're just lucky that it happened in the garage.
We're warming this thing up, getting ready to go out for the race, the qualifying race, and it just simply quit. And as soon as we figured out, Dean looked at me and I looked at him. It was the drive belt, and we knew it was all over because there's nothing we can do. We have to pull that engine clear out of there to even get to the drive belt. And without that, we have no oil, no oil system, no fuel system, no anything. So we were all done.
Let's try to get it over here. We'll push over here, so we'll put it in order.
I had seen on the pre-grid sheet that there were 3 McLaren, an M29, an M30, and an M28, which is almost impossible. You never get same consecutive years together and get photos and pictures of them. We've got some history on them, and it was really good to do that because it's probably 1 in a million that you're ever going to get the cars together. So it was a good thing to do.
Put in the caption that I own both of these.
As you can hear in the background, the cars leaving start-finish to begin their first of 2 pace laps. Well, and they're all Cosworth powered, with the exception, of course, of the Ferrari, because Cosworth powered just about everything in Formula One. If you didn't build your own engine, you bought a Cosworth.